Hello, everyone. Glad you could join us for this Thursday afternoon, evening for most of us. It is Thursday, and that means it's the last show of the week. Let's hope we can produce some cash here today. Boy, I've got a busy agenda in terms of what is likely to be a very busy day. Let me share a few things with you, but before we do, I'll have a look at the pound and see if we're going to place a breakout order on that one today. G'day, Paul P. Oh, that'd be my voice going. Yes, I know it could be a blessing for some. Hi, John. How you doing? Right, down to business. Pound. Looks like it's consolidating to me. How about you? Yes, I'll go with that. We do have mixed highs, higher highs and lower highs and higher lows. Yeah, all sorts of things. We've got, unfortunately, below us an untested daily pivot, which means poison to me if you want to go short here. Oh, look, the long is not so great either. But yeah, look. I'm not going to trade it short. I'm just considering if I'm going to trade it long. Why not? We'll trade the long only as a breakout. Now, also very dangerous, as I said, but I think I'm prepared to go that way in a very small risk, of course, because we are still, yes, we are still trying to get this right. And the last session action I had on this was quite productive. And we're not trading it the way I'm trading it at the moment. The way I'm trading it at the moment is my style, which of course is early take profit to get some risk off the table as quickly as possible. 139.46 would be our entry. But just as a bit of a heads up, what we have been looking at is the trade of the actual range of the day, and sometimes the range of the entire range. So in other words, if we're in a block here as we are, we would probably look to break out below here or above here. So we've been looking at that as well, and trying to get a lot of those have worked. What we're trying to do is find a sweet spot where, for instance, if you get taken into 3 of 10 trades and 3 of them go 5%, 1 of them goes 7%, and the other one goes 15%. What do? Do you average that out, or do you say, okay, well, we're definitely getting to 3% or whatever I just said? Then let's call that a sweet spot and just trade to there every day. That's the kind of thing that we're looking at. We need a stop loss, don't we? Stop loss is 139.24. That'd be silly, wouldn't it? You'd have to put it underneath the daily pivot, wouldn't you? Yes, you would. Daily pivots, let's go with 139.16. 139.16. Okay, so toy money on this, as always. Stop loss there, entry there. Let's see how we go. TP1, if that's going to be the case, is 46 to, what did I say? 16, so 30 pips. So 15 is our first take profit, which will be right about there, 139.61. I'm not going to write all this up. Is that okay? I don't think anybody's terribly involved with trading this anyway until we get it right. And that's exactly how it should be. $139.61. Right, there's our opening bar or candle, whatever you want to call it. It has arrived. I've got a splinter. Oh, got it. Awesome. I've been out chopping firewood. Yeah, good, John. And I got I got a splinter in my thumb. Very sore if you leave them. I'm very pleased I got it. Righto, let's see if this is going to trigger number one. And if it does, we'll just hang in here for a few seconds to see if it's going to survive. And then we will go and have a look at a few things. 3 trades I placed this morning. Very, very similar. So there's a lot of correlation there. And I have to keep my eye on that very, very closely. The pairs are pound Swissy, Aussie Yen, and Aussie Swissy, all short. So we'll have a look at that in a minute. Interesting, because I did a little bit more analysis on the pound and discovered that it's actually it's the one you'd be wanting to buy at the moment rather than anything in terms of relative strength over a period of time. Yet I don't get that on my chart. I don't get it at all. The pound to me is a sell. And yeah, that's all I can say. I'm really longer term, no question. You know, this double bottom here is the most significant pattern on the chart. There's no question. So I'm expecting this will break out at some stage. Why now is the question. Dollar bounced a little bit off the 91 handle as we anticipated. This level is very strong. So I'm expecting, at the very least, a retest of this breakout area, which is, 130-ish. So yeah, tough to trade at the moment. Hi, David. Looking at pound CAD, had a big bearish candle after retracement, but the retracement was just shy of the break and retest and daily pivot. Should I enter on candle close? Pound CAD. Have I got a pound CAD chart? No, I don't. We can fix that. Pound CAD. You got to remember that the CAD had news overnight as well. Was it last night? I think it was last night. And what they intimated was that they were going to, I think they call it taper their QE. And the market accepted that as good news. Let's have a look at this. Pound CAD, let's have a look. I can hear Ash in the background. Good day, mate.
Hi, I'm here, mate. Yeah, how's things?
Oh, there you go. That's the answer to the question that I just asked. That's what the market thought of the CAD news. Now, your question is after retracement, but the retracement was just shy of the break and retest. After retracement, which was just shy of the break. Hang on, let me have a look at this on the bigger picture. Break and retest the high, maybe. Retracement was just shy of the break and retest of the daily pivot. Okay, that's yesterday, or you mean this breakout, the big bear bar, short of the daily pivot? Right, I think I'm with you now. So that's enough to scare the bejeez out of me, I've got to say. Hourly time frame, yep, cool. Now, these things are monsters to trade. They're monsters by name and they're monsters by nature, because that is a clear emotive reaction to a news event, right? Now, what you've got to then do is dig down into that news event and say, well, what does that actually mean? Does it actually mean that we should get a short-term gain out of the CAD, or does it mean that this is a longer-term scenario where if the BOC, the Bank of Canada, says that we are going to taper quantitative easing, and that's going to be ongoing, and we don't see any reason to cut interest rates. In fact, we're looking at the upside, things like that. Then you would have to think this is probably going to repeat. or go into trend in the southerly direction. I haven't got enough information at my hand to give an opinion on that, nor do I normally give an opinion on it anyway, because I'm not a fundamental trader. But from a technician's point of view, and my point of view, more so my technical point of view, I can't trade this short right now. Two reasons. Number one is the size of that bar scares me because, as I say, it is an emotive reaction. I'm not sure what the market's going to think of that yet. We've just opened, and so far the market's not sure. Daily pivots untested, as you note. That's another one. But from a fundamental point of view, you've probably got a right to be thinking short. You're also trading into the most recent support level, which was the candle of yesterday. Whether that's got form or not is probably of interest, that level. And if you have a look through there, you can see it has been fairly strong resistance and support in the past. So, and that's why it stopped. I mean, there's no secret and there's no mystery where these emotive candles end. They actually end on technical levels. And that has done exactly that. So big question mark here today, whether you want to go short. I certainly wouldn't be. Do I want to trade against it long? Probably not as well. So I'm going to go no short, no long at the moment until I see more price action. That's my 2 cents worth, mate, on that. Ash, you got an opinion?
Oh, sorry, mate. Do you know what? I was just looking at Bitcoin.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Sure. Let me come back to you one moment.
I will share my trades from this morning whilst you're
do that. I'm just looking at Bitcoin. I think there's a long on Bitcoin. I know most people might not be able to trade it, but
okay. When you sort that out, let me know. So I'm joining Ash in Aussie Yen. As I said yesterday, I would like to see a pivot test. Pivots were magnetic to price. That's exactly what occurred. No surprise there, but that's what I needed to see. I needed to see that happen before I got interested in trading this. So now that it has, the daily chart gives me an entry here as it's a slingshot set up on a trade line at the end of the day. That's what it is, but it's also aided and abetted by the the break and retest of the pivots, which is fairly strong. We've also had a daily pivot test today. So if we sneak underneath the daily pivot, I think this may well find its way at least to the bottom of the range. And of course, that's where I'll be taking profit. My first take profit level is at the swing, however, just to get some risk off the table, or to get the risk off the table. The second of the orders, and I said these will be fairly strongly correlated. Pound Swissy. Now, pound Swissy is not a genuine slingshot trade. Rather, it's a free, I call it a free trade, freestyle. That's what it is. And what I've been presented with here on the daily chart is, I won't say three little Indians because there's really not a big range break. But what there was a range rebreak. So declaring this long a false break of that range. That very range has been broken to the downside and retested, unlike what happened on the upside, broken and smashed back to the downside. And now we've had a retest of that level. Pursuant to that, we have had a key reversal bar on Tuesday that we pointed out yesterday. And then we've got an inside bar that follows it up. So that's, although it's very small, that probably gives us a better chance than not to take profit before the weekly pivot. So that's exactly what I've done here, to sell underneath yesterday's daily candle, which had a white body. That would make me feel even better. But I put my stop loss above the day before, clearly obvious on the swing. Third of the orders this morning, again, highly correlated. Not Kiwi Swiss. Aussie Swiss. That's right. I just couldn't resist this one. not because of any other reason that it was a massive key reversal bar on Tuesday, similar to what I've just described on Aussie Yen, of course. And then a big response from the buyers back across the pivots. So again, it's all underneath the monthly pivot, key rejection of that level, and then a nice little retest of the pivots, including the daily pivot today. If this is going with momentum, it'll go to the monthly pivot, in which case I'll cancel the order. If it goes with my way of thinking, which is to the downside and hits this level, so entry, we should get a TP1 out of this, because I think we'll get the retest of there. In terms of bigger picture, we've got these two big bear bars, unable to get above them, and we've now gone into a sequence of lower lows and lower highs, looking for a lower low today. Otherwise, that sequence will end, and guess what? We'll be in a range, and that's all good for me, as long as we don't get triggered before, and then get whipsawed out, which is what we don't want. So they're the three orders that I've got in the market today. You can follow those if you want. All the numbers are on the charts. You're welcome.
I am with you now. Yeah, sorry, I was just looking at Bitcoin. I don't know if you want me to have a quick run around these charts.
Of course,
just to have a quick look around. Okay, let's do it. Let's first talk about global markets, because there is probably some signs and signals we can take in everything if we kind of try and understand what some of the messages are telling us. So this is Bitcoin. I quite like Bitcoin in this particular stage, but I was just weighing up whether I should take a trade. I've just got a little 4-hour hammer here, which it didn't end at the highs, but it still looks pretty good, and it looks like a potential hold spot. If we look at this as a potential head and shoulders area, this is the support area down here, and we can tell that that's the support area because of this this upper line, probably more so than the lower line. Now, I was just looking at it, and it doesn't look like there's that much room to the upside. Maybe a couple of thousand up to this particular point, which, you know, certainly. I mean, Bitcoin terms, it's maybe not that amazing, but my issue with it is that I'm still probably looking for downside rather than upside. So
really, is it?
Yeah, and it's kind of against my my overall picture of Bitcoin and the crypto market. I still think that there's a decent chance this falls. And if we look around the grounds at what's kind of building the idea of weakness that I'm seeing in the market, let's start with the VIX, because the VIX took a huge pop up a few days ago. In fact, 5 days ago, took a huge pop up to this particular point here. And you can see that when we look at this chart here, there's very few that really do this, and it does tend to transpire in some further upside. So the VIX as the fear indicator, if you like, that's what it's generally called, would suggest that the markets are still in a bit of a problematic phase here. Now, if anybody knows the, let me just get the anybody knows the 10-year bond rate, is you kind of want to try and be as aware of the 10-year bond rate as possible, and it is falling. The 10-year.
You better pay attention, guys. There could be some hints as to some questions later.
It is falling, so that would mean that with the bond rate falling, that there's probably a bit more confidence maybe coming back in. You know, we'd have to kind of see that. We'd have to see that. Sorry, with the yield rate falling, it looks like there's that little bit more confidence coming back in. Now, we are seeing gold move to the upside, and the question is why. And obviously, the dollar has been weak, but gold does tend to also be a bit of a fear indicator, or it can be a fear indicator, and gold has really started to pick up. So there might be some people just hedging out some positions, just hedging out a little bit of risk. The Ftse is interesting, and I thought the Ftse was quite interesting this morning because there was a potential trade. My issue really with it, and you can see that the bounce off this lower point here is currently driving the market higher. Not a very good bar to try and trade from, and I wonder whether we're just going to get a little bit of toing and froing today. I don't see this as a decent market to kind of pick up too many trends. I wonder whether we go to the upside, come back down again, go back up again, come back down again. Do we break down? I don't know. I'm not so sure. I'm not convinced. And I think I may well be guessing a little bit if I start trading this. So this is where the daily pivot currently is on the Ftse futures, and looking across the share count, if you like, the stock count. We've got around about 75% of stocks in positive territory on the Ftse. But I think more significantly are maybe the ones that are just a little bit lower. When we look at the market cap, BP is slightly higher, around about a 0.5%. But Unilever is slightly lower. Royal Dutch Shell slightly lower. AstraZeneca lower. And HSBC also lower. So there are a few of the big names. British American Tobacco only slightly lower after the absolute punishing move it took after the US decided to bring in some regulation with tobacco. So there is certainly some concern. You know, I'm not seeing
what sort of regulation. What?
Oh, I think there's some new tobacco regulation coming into play, and Joe Biden, I think, is just trying to stop people smoking. I think that it's gonna really hamper and harm the tobacco industry in the coming weeks. And on the announcement, the stocks in this country anyway were down 7%, but pretty much straight away, and they haven't really recovered.
I've got it begs the question. And I'm a former smoker. I used to smoke many years ago now, but I defend the rights of people to have that choice. And they're only, well, that's not quite true, but if they want to smoke in an area that's not going to affect other people, I don't have a problem with that at all. What I do have a problem with is your right to carry weapons around the place and shoot me if I look at you the wrong way. I think there's a gross misappropriation of energy there. I'll put it that way. They should be putting their guns rather than smokes, I reckon.
Well, do you know? I think he's basically come out and said that he's going to. Joe Biden's come out and said that he's going to try and diminish the nicotine content. That's the. I mean, I read the headline and saw the stock kind of moving. The stock's moving. So I think he's talking about regulating the nicotine levels in cigarettes, which I think is absolutely fine, because obviously what he's trying to do is stop people being so addicted to it. My biggest problem with smoking, and as a smoker, when I go to party places,
social smoker.
What's that? Sorry?
A social smoker.
Yeah, as a bit of a social smoker, my biggest problem with cigarettes is the litter. It's not so much what it does to people's bodies, because I agree with you. I think people should be allowed to choose what they do with their own systems. If they want to kind of suffocate their lungs, then so be it. People do plenty of other things that are just as harmful as cigarettes. But it's the litter that I don't agree with, because then you start to impact the environment. Hugely negatively. Animals might eat some of the cigarette butts. They clog up, certain parts of the countryside and everything else as they kind of get blown around. But it's one of the biggest bugbears that I've got on the planet generally is the amount of litter that we all seem to create. And that's the biggest problem, I think, with cigarettes. That's my personal view on it. So
sorry, I took you completely off the track.
I don't know. I can't remember what I was going about. Anyway, all I was saying actually at the time was that British American Tobacco are also slightly lower. Actually, they're flat now. But it does really sort of suggest that we are probably in a state of flux, and it might last all day. It might only last until the ECB announcement. Now, Europe has started to catch up somewhat when it comes down to the vaccine rollout. And we've got a monetary policy at 12:45 UK, and then we've got the press conference at 1:30. And I'm not really that keen to take anything until I hear what's going on in this press conference. The likelihood is that Christine Lagarde is going to come out and say that there is enough accommodation to keep things where they are and where they need to be in regards to the growth in Europe. The issue isn't really now Europe, as we've seen in the headlines over the last few days. The issue is India and some of the EM markets, where the COVID-19 rate is starting to accelerate to the upside again. And we really do need to tackle this as a planet and not just as a nation by nation effect. So that seems to be what spooked markets, but it hasn't really had any follow through one way or the other. Now, if we look at this, so the Ftse is a little bit weak today. The VIX had a pop a few days ago, but it has subsided somewhat. But I wonder whether we do now start to possibly just find some support at this particular level here. Bitcoin is potentially going to show a head and shoulders pattern eventually. I do think there's some upside in this, but I think eventually we might well see the head and shoulders pattern. Whether it plays out will be another question, but that looks like the upper end of the range of the right shoulder. The S&P has been a little bit weak over the last few days, but it's edging back up towards the highs again. And then we come down to the Aussie Yen, and obviously I'm in the Aussie Yen with you, Jeff, and I'm taking another order at the low of this candle if it breaks. So I'm gonna chase after this one. And the Aussie Yen, what I'm finding quite interesting about Australia is that the numbers are good. You know, the numbers from Australia are pretty solid, and that should be catalyst enough to drive it up. And the fact that it isn't is a red flag. And that suggests to me that the market is probably a bit overdone with the Aussie, and maybe all the news that we are now seeing come out has already been priced in. So it's going to be something else which is going to have to drive this forward. And it might be on hold because of the pandemic. It might be on hold because Australia's predicted move has already now, as I say, been priced in. So we might not get any further upside for a while. So that's another reason that I'm playing the Aussie Yen short, and I'm holding on to it. But anybody that's involved in this trade, I would suggest that we don't expect this to go very fast anytime soon. I think that this might take a while to transpire. I'm not sure whether we're gonna start to pick to the upside just yet. I think, as I say, I think it might take some time. But I'm going to hold on to it. You know, this bar is very strong.
That's a pretty picture. You know, you've got a double top and a very definite lower high there.
Yeah, and you've got a rising wedge as well. So I think with this rising wedge, and it is at the lower end, you know, I'm gonna be entering probably a little bit before the rising wedge is completed.
Well, that's my entry, but I'll be taking profit before that line.
Yes, so. Yeah, and I may well do as well, and then put another order in just below it. But the rising wedge measured move would suggest that we have a drop to around about this level, which is 7. Let's call it 80. I like it because it's a nice round number on the Aussie Yen, and you can see that there is some support here as well, some potential support here as well. And when we look at the charts here, it looks like there's a horizontal level. So that's my target down at $80. Obviously we're currently at 83.60, so it's got some work to do to get down there, but I don't see why that isn't achievable. And then obviously this lower level at 77.70 I think is also an interesting level if that particular area doesn't hold, but I think it probably will. And longer term, I think I am bullish on the Aussie. But in the near term, I think that some retracement in global equities is potentially on. The question is when it comes. We discussed the May 14th time period, the date yesterday, and it might take a little while for that to transpire. You know, maybe we got to wait a month for this, but I don't really mind as long as I don't get taken out to the upside. So I'm holding on with this one, mate, and seeing what happens. When it comes down to making a choice on things like Bitcoin and the Ftse, because my general opinion is that we probably are going to be coming down. And you can see this on the Ftse. Look at this primary trend line here. We're right bang on this primary trend line. There's the low back in October 2009. There's the next one up in 2016. We are under that level. Now, by any other time frame, we'd be calling this a lower high, and we'd be calling this a downtrend and a return to this particular point. So technically speaking, the Ftse 100 is in a downtrend on the monthly chart. The question really is that economically, is that supported? You know, do we have a downtrend supported? And I suppose we probably don't at this stage. But we're not out of the woods with the pandemic, and we don't know really what the eventual effects are going to be on from the pandemic. And the reason for it is that we've had so much in the way of subsidies and stimulus that when that starts to eventually come off, will we still be at this level or near? You know, this is a weekly chart. Will we be near this level here still? If we break through, different story. But if we float around here and then towards the end of the year something happens where they do take away stimulus, but the economy is not able to support itself, the markets are coming down. You know, certainly the Ftse 100 is coming down, and it's probably going to be driven by the S&P and the Dow, which aren't showing those signals just yet. But I think there's a big question mark, personally, mate. I don't think we should be too confident in buying necessarily here. But I do think that you know, it is going to be a buy the dip mentality. We've already had weekly chart here. We've had one buy the dip so far from investors when the market came down a few days ago. So we bought the dip once. This does look like a potential head and shoulders pattern forming on the Ftse 100 as well, but it's only potential, and we've got to understand and recognize that equities, the path of least resistance is up. So I'm not by any stretch calling this down, but it could happen. It could transpire.
Hard to go short right now, though, wouldn't it be, into that level?
Yeah. Oh yeah, mate. There's not only with the level is one thing, but the information just is not deeply informative enough to tell us that this is the time we should be going short. You know, shorting equities is very difficult. You know, not too long ago, actually, when I made some really good money, I was kind of going long and short and long and short and long and short. But it was so stressful after a while. I was like, there's got to be an easier way to kind of sleep at night than having to do this. You know, trying to picking sort of like the higher points and the lower points.
Or whiskey.
So. Whiskey, yeah. Well, I stopped doing it ultimately, so I'm not really that keen on going short. So I wait for specific events now before I'm willing to take the short option. On a short-term time frame, completely different story, but on a longer-term time frame, I'm not so keen. However, I will trade it in a different way. I'm expressing it really through the Aussie Yen rather than global equities. So,
well, I mean, that's the market sentiment indicator, isn't it, really, at the end of the day?
Yeah, yes, it is. It's a great one. Yeah. So that's the long and the short of it. My final takeaway is I think it's going to be a difficult period before 130 to really trade this market, and you can see really what's happened over the last few minutes. And we did drop to the downside. We're starting to ease our way back up again, and I just wonder whether we're going to get caught in a bit of a crossfire here for a period today. There is a weekly pivot just above this area, and that might be the one thing that becomes or can become a bit of a target. So it's possible that this could push up to this point. It's around about 0.75% higher from where we are now, and I think there's a chance. I'd certainly be more keen on the long than the short currently with the Ftse. I still think that there is a buy the dip mentality still probably playing out, but I'm just not that keen on it. I'd prefer to be trading the Ftse on very short-term timeframes, and I think this could take a few hours. I'd prefer to get an explosive move and be out of the market right now, I think. So that's really the state of play for me. I'm in that Aussie Yen, happy to hold it. Anything else, I'm waiting till 1:30, and I'll probably try and scalp a little bit this afternoon potentially.
Yeah, we've got a pretty decent euro dollar breakout trade to share a little bit later as well.
Okay.
This will be based on the ECB stuff that goes
Brilliant.
on a little bit later. So we'll have a look at that. But gee whiz, there's a lot to go through. If you're done, I'll get into it, bud.
Yeah. Let's go for it. And after, maybe after you've done your little thing, maybe we'll have quiz time, shall we?
Quiz time. Yep, absolutely.
Okay. So quiz in 10 minutes ish.
So I hope you've been paying attention, you blokes. And when I say blokes, it's an Aussie thing for all people. It's not a sexist.
It's a colloquialism.
It's not a sexist thing. That does include ladies, as does mate, as does pal, as does all of those things that I say whenever I say them. All right, what have we got? We're looking at the pound. We're looking to take first profit. That's not happening at the moment, so we can move on from there. First thing I want to look at is probably the questions. So, David, I saw you put a limit, DO. Put a limit. Do I use, in terms of a take profit level, maybe? Do I use the ATR to predefine distance for stop losses? Or, not sure what the or is, but I'll explain to you exactly how I do it. Because it's very important to know, especially if you're following in this show and not in the Telegram group where we update the trades. So let me pick a trade or an order. What have we got? Aussie Yen, right? So Aussie Yen, and this coincidentally, I can answer Jaira your question as well, where Jaira was looking yesterday at a potential ABC trade off this trade line on the 4-hour chart on Aussie Yen. Ash, of course, already in the trade. Now, the trade, which is a classic slingshot entry, is break the trade line, retest the trade line. We really like to see a nice decisive bullish bar like that rather than that, but come see what comes Saha. Jaira was looking to enter below that bar, I would think. And my counsel at the last was take profit here. Now, really nothing's changed, just the time frame, really, because what I perceive to be a safe way or a safer way to trade this particular scenario, and yesterday, was let the daily pivot be tested. But it wasn't only the daily pivot, it was all pivots. And as I said at the time, these are just magnetic to price. And this goes back to the ATR as well, David. If you're trading intraday, it's a classic scenario where ATR comes into consideration as depicted by the pivots. Now, if you're trading outside of DR1 and DS1, which is daily resistance and daily support number one, you're really trading outside the range of yesterday, right? Because that's what that is, essentially. Then if you go to DR2 and DS2, you're trading outside the range again and again, multiplied by. It's not the ATR, but it is the range of yesterday. Now, if the range of yesterday happens to coincide or be close to the ATR, then that's a super good gauge as to what might happen today. Intraday, you have to make that huge distinction between intraday and trend or end of day trading. If you want to trade intraday, you've got to be aware of these levels, because they're just going to screw with you. They really are, time and time again. And I do this. This is one of my favorite things to do. I'm not actually going to go through that process now because it'll take too long. But just go back in time and have a look how many times price intraday goes outside of DR1 and DS1, and then do the same thing for DR2 and DS2. I'll give you a very simple way to do that. Not now, but when we've got on Monday. Remind me on Monday, David, because Ash won't be in. I'll go through that process. It's super enlightening if you've never seen it before, and it's just duh. How come I didn't see that? How come I don't know that? And it's based on the ATR. So yes, I use it extensively if I'm trading intraday. I don't care if I'm trading on 4-hour or daily charts because it doesn't mean too much. But if I'm trading on 30-minute charts, I've got to know the capability of what the market is prepared to give me in that particular session. And if I don't know that, I might as well be playing marbles somewhere because the market's just going to roll over me. So you've got to know that sort of stuff. So back to the point, and back to your question, Jaira. I can't remember what the ultimate question was. Did not work. So looking to get a short trade. Absolutely. And like I said, all I've done is switch timeframes because it now makes sense to me. Exactly the same trade, right? It now makes sense to me that this bar here is our insurance bar. And if you don't know what I mean by that, it means that if price goes with current momentum, which is bullish, then it will continue. But if it doesn't, then guess what? The sellers regain control, and look how much control they had here after the bulls tried to push this through and take the high on, couldn't do it. And then we got I'll call it a weak response from the buyers. They couldn't even take out the open of the day before, nor could they get above the pivots. So the obvious to me, it's not obvious to everyone, the obvious other way to look at that is that if this is not going to happen, then this is, because we are in a range. We're coming down off the top of the range. We've got a whole lot of stuff going on here. Seriously, this is a setup that I kind of wait for. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But that's the way it is. This is as good as it gets because there's a whole lot going on here. You've got a false break of this resistance trade line. You've got a rejection of the top of this range and therefore the highs. You've got, what else have you got? You've got a break of the pivots and a retest of the pivots. You've got an approach of a support trade line and a rejection of that trade line, which all, sorry, I got to fly, which all goes to, if price comes to here, it should go to there. And that's really all I'm worried about. If it goes to there, I've made money. But I won't allow it to go to there without putting something in the bank because I'm such a conservative trader that I want to get safe here because this is a potential rejection area. So yes, it's all based, if I'm trading intraday, on ATRs and DS1s and DR1, but here I don't care because I'm outside of those areas with my stop loss. And that's the most important thing to me. If I'm trading 4-hour, daily, weekly, even monthly, DR1 doesn't mean jack. But if I'm trading 30-minute trades, DR1 means a whole bunch of things. It absolutely does. I hope I kind of covered that. Now, that's why I put limits on, David, because I know that once we won, price is going to do something. It's either going to smash through or it's going to bounce off it. More times than not, it will bounce off it. Because if I'm, in particular, if I'm trading a breakout, it ain't going to get smashed through all of those resistance levels. Ain't going to happen. Not without a pullback. Sorry, that's not true. If it's based on a fundamental announcement, for instance, it can do what it wants and do what it will, and it does. But under the normal course of events, it's going to hit resistance and it's going to bounce off it. That's what you need to be aware of. As I said, I'll go through that for you on Monday. And if you haven't seen me do this before, it'll open your eyes to intraday trading. It's quite amazing. Depicting what you shouldn't be doing rather than what you should be doing. And seriously, it's sometimes far more important to know what not to do than it is to know what to do. Righto, what's going on? Pound, we know the pound is struggling. We did get tipped into this. I'm not sure why, but we did. We got tipped into this. The spreads, of course, pushed us in. That's something to consider when we're going through that analysis as well. So potentially you need to get your stops, your entry out of the road of those spreads is what I'm saying. We've been through all of those through the week. Where are we at? I think I start here. Euro Aussie. Have I answered all those questions, guys? If not, supplementaries are absolutely okay. Yeah, look, this is a clear, wish it was a white bar thing, but it's not. And I'm torn here. I'm really torn because, as you know, in fact, I'm sure you know, because I've just been waxing lyrical about it for the whole week, or is it the whole month? Maybe even more than a month now I've been waxing on about it. This bar here means something. I'm convinced that this bar means something. And every single bit of price has been inside that bar since. And I'm now on a weekly chart. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is the 8th week we've been inside that bar. So if I was about to say something profound, but I better not do that. If I'm on top of my game, then my analysis says this has to break to the high side. Now, I've got every reason to think that it will, and I really want to get in at a low price. I've got a double bottom here now. All I need is a setup to break out here, to break out long. In my humble opinion, of course, it may never happen, but that's what I see. And when I see that, gee whiz, I just can't believe it's been inside this range for so long. Today may be the day because we do have the ECB strutting at stuff. Now, there'll be a lot of speculation around what can they say that's going to move the market. I don't know. I'm not a central banker. So I can't predict that in any way, shape or form. What I see here right now is a slingshot pattern that I like to trade. It's a little bit off kilter in terms of a trade line, and I am on the daily chart. But if I swung that from there to there, that looks pretty cool. Trading above there. I may do that, but it won't be on that basis. This is Euro Aussie, right? Maybe I do. The problem I've got, 58 versus, that's not so bad. I'll come back to that. Why didn't I trade that today? I know why. Because we've come off the top and we've put in a lower high. So I'm looking, that's why I have this such a dilemma, right? I need this to get to the bottom. That's why I've got a problem. It's got to get down to here or here. Then give me a false break so we could be here this time next week discussing this. Yes, really, David, we're 100% behind you, mate. We all want to go short Aussie Yen. I'm 100%. 100%. I think it's a really good setup. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. It just means it's a good setup. So that's Euro Aussie. I'm really torn between two lovers. Doesn't quite work. Currencies. Euro Swissy, look, we traded this on Monday, did we not? Sorry, we put the order on Monday and nothing's happened here. I've kind of had a bit of a swing around on this, and the reason is pretty much exactly as I've just described to you, because we're going the other way. We've got a bounce off the bottom, which has produced a higher low, sorry, a higher high and a higher low, and it's just gone into a little cocoon here at the moment. Really, I should be, from a Jeff point of view, looking up here, but something's telling me the opposite. I'm not sure exactly where I need to be looking at the moment. It's this level here. It was always this level here because we broke back below it and we retested it. That's why I think a short is pertinent there. But I also think if there was a long setup, that I would take that also on a smaller time frame, because I think that's the direction from a smaller point of view that I want to take. So let's investigate that very, very quickly. I did say there's a whole lot to go through. Can't believe how many things there are on the table at the moment. That looks like a beautiful slingshot setup for the short, I've got to say. And if I put the resistance trade line on, it looks like a beautiful setup for the long. I think I've said enough. Move on. It's too confusing. Aussie Swissy, we've got a trade on that. As I said before, that's just a classic break and retest of the pivots and the big rejection and key reversal, if you like, off the monthly pivot. So that's why I'm keen to trade that. Those are the entry levels if you wish. The take profit has to be before these lows, of course. And then if it does reverse, and why couldn't it? Double top, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. We're looking for a lower low. Okay. Aussie Swiss, but it's very much the same trade as Aussie Yen in many regards. Now, look, again, I'm super keen to trade this one. Similar to Euro Aussie, but just a tad different. We've had a clear break to the upside, very dominant, then a consolidation, then another clear break, now another consolidation. It really does excite me. I don't get that excited really, but I'm kind of excited about this. And here's why. We've got a clear potential. Is that the thing? False break of the support trade line. A daily pivot test here is going to A, get me really interested, and B, terrify the bejeez out of me. Why? Because I'm trading straight into the monthly pivot. But I would do it. And the reason is it's been broken, rebroken. So it doesn't hold any fear for me at the moment, the monthly pivot. So I really, really, in the next hour and a bit, want this to come down and at least test the daily pivot and close round about there. It'd be super. I'd actually put my entry above the monthly pivots, just so I can say I put my entry above the monthly pivot because it's the right thing to do, and put my stop loss below the bar. That's going to be something that I will follow, because don't forget, I'm expecting this to break to the high side. So there's a whole bunch of pips available here if that does do the job on Euro Kiwi. Gee, I'm running out of time. I know, Ash, sorry, bud. Kiwi
No worries,
Swiss.
mate.
We didn't trade Kiwi Swiss. But if you have a look at Kiwi Swiss, you've got to start to think that now we're looking for shorts. False break's the best way to go here, of course. Doesn't like the monthly pivot, keeps bouncing off it. Either maybe a weekly pivot test and a lower high, or breakout, back underneath the pivots, retest, go. That's a fair way away from now. And I think I've covered the rest of them. Pound, what's it doing? Just below entry, farting around doing nothing, probably waiting for the ECB. And Ash, when we're done with the quiz, I'll set up the ECB breakout trade. So there you go. I'm ready. Oh, hang on. Jeff, is a slingshot entry bar still need to be at least 15 pips? Gyra, that's a great question. And it depends a whole lot. And it goes right back to the ATR. Now, if the ATR is declining, so let's say, well, let's have a look. What currency pair am I on? Euro dollar. Perfect. Let's go to the daily chart. Insert indicators. Average true range. 20 days, that's 5 weeks of trade, 4 weeks of trading. Let's put it up. And you can see that the ATR has declined right down to 56 pips, right? Now, my 15 pips is based on 90 to 100 of ATR. So when it declines to this level, to 56 pips, I start to think, okay, my 15 pips is almost becoming impossible to make money in that environment. So if it's gone from, let's say, 90 pips to 56, what's that, 40% reduction or something like that in that vicinity, then I think it's reasonable to reduce the master candle by 40%. So in other words, if it's 15 pips, let's get rid of 6 of them and make it 9. That's kind of the rule of thumb that I use. Otherwise, you're never going to be in the market. You're just not, because if the ATR is 56 pips, how many 15 pip plus candles do you think you're going to see in that? You're not. It's not going to happen. If the updated slingshot rules say otherwise, then there is a potential for Aussie Yen M30 long, just that the weekly pivot is in the way. Let me have a look at this. And I hope that helps. Aussie Yen, 30 minute. Tick, 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 tick. There we go. Okay, so if we're on the 30-minute chart, bearing in mind we've got a bearish bias. Let me get rid of all these to start with, to save confusion. What? Oh, okay. All right, let's get rid of that as well. So we're bears. Let's put in our trade lines. There's a trade line. And there's a trade line. Okay. I'm looking for a reason to go long here. I don't see the setup, Gyro. M30. I'm on M30. Yep. What are you seeing, bud? You may be seeing that bar and calling it the third test. Okay, I can see that. You're right. The weekly pivot is dead set in the way, so is the trade line. As always, third bar is almost a touch. Yeah. No, all good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, they have. And for those of you who don't know what Gyro is talking about, if I'm trading on a 30-minute chart and I see a setup, place an order. If I place that order there long and 6 candles transpire before entry, I cancel the order. So if you're thinking long, to me, the absolute best place to go long from here is pretty much from where we are now, but you'd want to be seeing break, hit support, consolidate, back above, retest, bang, entry, go. I'm not thinking that way, but if it did set up that way, you've got every right to think so on a 30-minute chart, because you've got a double bottom sitting here. You've got a higher high. You would have a higher low. Like the setup, mate. Nothing wrong with that. Absolutely. And again, we're trading intraday here. This doesn't take away from our medium or longer term bias, which is short. This would be eminently tradable. I get it. Totally get it. Well spotted. Where would you trade it to? Probably not beyond there, I wouldn't have thought. DR2 might be a good target. Yeah, I like it. Not impossible. But I'd have to see that setup, I think. All right. all things are possible at the moment on the 30-minute chart, I think. And if you're talking 30-minute charts euro, then I would strongly advise that that's probably not a good idea at the moment. Wait for that announcement or wait for that news before you did that, unless you've got inside information. And if you have, put it in the chat. That's me, bud.
All righty. That's great, mate.
I've got a pen and a lot of paper and the speed writing thing happening.
Okay, yes. Oh, well, let's get to the quiz. So anybody that is not aware of what the quiz is, this is something that we didn't manage to get to it last week, but we've decided to start doing a little quiz every week, and we will ask you questions in regards to the markets and world events throughout the year. If you are in YouTube, you may not find it quite as easy to play along, but you can, of course, play along if you want to. Just put your answers in the question box in YouTube. So everybody else in the room. Now, I think who was the king and queen last time? I'm pretty sure it was Ftse.
John and Ftse, I think.
John, was it John? I'm not sure
John
did that well. Did you do well, John? It was you, was it? Sorry, mate. Sorry, I didn't remember that. Okay. Right. Here we go. Let me share this. I will answer questions and Jeff will give you the answers.
Oh, will I?
Yeah, you're
and write the scores down. Bloody hell!
And write the scores down. Yeah, you're the glamorous girl on the side here. Right, so it's Buddy's brain time. Here we go. Are we ready, everybody? I'm just making sure that I've got the questions up. So this is purely for sports. Oh, I can't even see the answers now. Right, question number 1. On Tuesday, Shukri quoted a famous investor by the name of Larry Hite. What was the quote? What was the quote? So Shukri quoted a famous investor on Tuesday. But what was the quote that he said? I think this week might be easier.
Yeah, piece of cake.
Have you got any ideas? You can always have a guess. The harder the wallet, the better. Oh, very good, mate. I quite like that. No idea. So Paul's asymmetric investment. No, that wasn't the quote. Now, do you remember the quote? Is there any David? I see you in the room in YouTube. You got any ideas? What was the quote? Okay, Jeff is going to give us the answer.
The answer is, if I can remember the quote, it was something that sounded like, hang on a sec till I read it, because I can't remember. Won't be a sec.
You'd be given the sack by now as the glamour. It's a good job you're a very, very glamorous assistant. Otherwise, you'd be out.
If you don't bet, you can't win. If you lose all your chips, you can't bet.
That's exactly right. If you don't bet, you can't win. And if you lose all your chips, you can't bet. And he was referring, obviously, to the crypto space. So I think that we got a resounding 0 on question 1.
Yep.
Okay.
0.
It's good, though. We want this to be relatively difficult. How many daily key reversal bars did Jeff spot yesterday? How many daily key reversal bars did Jeff spot yesterday? Okay, we got John with 6. We got Gary with 15. Paul with 15. Ftse with 18. Anybody in the YouTube taking part? I can't see if anybody in YouTube. I don't think they are. Don't see it on YouTube. Piresh, thanks, buddy, is saying 11. Piresh is saying 11. What is the answer, Jeff? So we got how many daily key reversals did Jeff spot yesterday? A few people have said 15. We got Ftse with 18. Piresh says 11. What's the answer?
Take about Gary and Paul P. 15 was correct. 10 actually triggered. 4 hit triggered. 4 hit TP1. 1 was a loser. This was this morning. I haven't checked them since. 1 was a loser. 5 were at break even or in drawdown. So 10 triggered, 4 TP1s, 1 loser, and 5. Actually, I'll try and update that before we
go. John saying so 6 was a good guess. Yeah, why not?
6 was close. Yep.
But 15 is the answer, is it?
15 is the answer.
Okay, so we have Paul P and Swee. Oh no, sorry, Paul P. And Gary. We have Gary at the top of the leaderboard currently. Here we go. Question number 3. In accordance to institutes, how far below the high of the year does price need to fall to define a bear market? This is something we were talking about Tuesday or Wednesday. I can't remember. In accordance to institutes, how far below the high of the year does price need to fall to define a bear market? So we've got we've got quite a few here. Gary saying 20, Paul saying 20, Swee saying 25, Hanan saying 20, Q saying 20, John Cook saying 20. Swee has changed hers to 20. Is that because everybody else says 20, Swee? I'm not sure. I think we're going to have to go with the first answer with this stuff, aren't we, Jeff? John says 25.
What if I don't see the first answer?
Then give her the second one. That's fine.
No, I can only see the first one.
Anybody in YouTube? Anybody in YouTube want to have a guess at this? Paresh says 22. What is the answer, Jeff?
Yeah, sorry, guys. The answer is 20.
20, yeah. So in accordance to institutes, the price has to fall 20% from its from that year's high to define a bear market. Okay. The Bank of Canada left rates on hold this week. This is question 4. And what is their current rate? So what is the current rate of the Bank of Canada? And we should all be getting this right. What is the current rate of the Bank of Canada? Thank you, John. Thank you, Swee. Thank you, Gary. Paul's not sure. This is a really good question. I think we should always have these, because after a while you're going to pick up the fact that we always ask about interest rates, and it's great for us to know this stuff.
You know, the interesting part about interest rates, and historically, interest rates have meant just about everything in currencies. Not so much in the last little bit, because everyone's pretty much on par. But there's only, I think, 2 countries in the world, maybe 3. What's NZ? NZ might be 2.25. There's only 3 countries in the world, if that's the case, that are in that bracket. Everyone else is below it.
That is interesting. Paresh has got 0.25. What's the answer, Jeff?
The answer is 0.25.
Fantastic. Right, you keeping scores here?
I am.
You got Paresh as well in this, right? You got Paresh in the quiz.
Got it.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Number 5. World leaders are due to meet today to discuss climate change. What is the summit being called? What is the summit today that world leaders are meeting to discuss climate change? What's the name of the summit? Now, we should all be aware of this one. We got to know this, right? This is affecting every single one of us. Nobody's answered. Nobody's answered.
To Major Tom.
Work together for once. I like that. Well, should get a bonus point if nobody gets the correct answer. All right, I can't see anybody with any answers. Never mind the correct one. So, what is the answer, Jeff?
It's Earth Day.
It's Earth Day.
Oh, the Earth Day Summit, if you like. The
Earth Day Summit. That's what it is today. We got the Earth Day Summit. Now, following on from that, what other important environmental document was signed today on Earth Day in 2016? Paresh, I can see you in there now. I think Paresh is going to get that one right.
Yep.
Because we're on the delay.
I've marked him
right. Okay. So what other important environmental document was signed on this day in 2016? On Earth Day in 2016?
That'll be Angus. Hang on, I'll just close the door.
Okay. We got one answer so far. 2 answers. So we got Swee and we've got John. Both of them are saying Paris. What's the answer, Jeff?
Yeah, look, can we give halves? What?
Oh, I think we can probably give him. I think we can probably give him a point for that. Yeah.
Okay. It's actually called the Paris Climate Change.
Yes, 120 countries got together to sign the Paris Climate Change Accord in 2016. How well are they doing? You knew that. Okay, number 7. What is the ticker symbol DXY represent? What's the ticker symbol DXY represent? 3 more questions. Swee's giving us an answer. Only Swee. Give you a few more seconds to.
Nope. Where'd they get those answers from?
Oh, I think I know why John's. Q's got the answer. Yeah. We see those in there. Paresh has answered as well. So I'm using Paresh as my time barometer. What are we saying, Jeff?
We're saying they're right. It is indeed the US dollar index.
The dollar index. I'm not sure, John, whether that was a joke or whether you thought that was the VIX, the VXI. The VIX is the volatility index, which is a different one. Okay, of which group of currencies is the DXY measured with? Of which group of currencies is the...
That's better. That's better English, yes. Did I write that wrong? No, I wouldn't have written that wrong.
I've just copied and pasted. So, of which group of currencies is it a measure?
And by that, I don't mean to name the currencies. And others go sweet.
Okay. Paresh is my time gauge, but I don't see Paresh answering, so I'm going to guess that maybe he's not sure. So, what's the answer, Jeff? Oh, here we go. Paresh. All major currencies is from Paresh. What are we saying, mate?
Yep, both right, Paresh and John. The majors, that's correct.
The majors. Here we go. So, 2 more questions. Number 9. Hope you're keeping scores here, Jeff. Number 9. Australia and the Kiwi have bank holiday scheduled on Sunday/Monday. Why? Why do they have bank holidays scheduled? We're talking about this week, are we?
We are indeed.
Yeah, we are indeed. So we're talking about this week, Sunday, Monday. What is so significant about Sunday/Monday this week? I haven't got anything from Paresh, but he may not be sure of this one. So what do we got, Jeff?
We have got Anzac Day, 100% correct.
Well done,
celebrating
guys.
the alliance of Australian and New Zealand Army Corps, not just in a particular war, but all wars these days, where we respect the sacrifices made by our veterans. Anzac Day, 100%.
Thank you. Very well done. Paresh put Good Friday. I'm not sure if you'd have a Good Friday on a Monday.
There was a song about that.
Was there?
Johnny Farnham.
Oh, okay.
It's a Friday kind of Monday.
Maybe that's where the confusions come in.
Could be.
Okay. Final question. Right, we've got the scores. Who's in the leaderboard, Jeff? Who's winning?
Look, it's a tie at the moment. Yep. We need a correct answer from Gary or Swee to decide the event.
Swee's in there again. Yep. I'll tell you what. Okay, Swee or Gary. So if you both get the correct answer, I think the winner is going to have to be who gets the correct answer first.
Yep.
So whoever puts this answer in first. So get ready. Fingers at the ready. The final question is: some of Europe's top football clubs, I should say, decided to start a new project this week, which sent shares in the respective clubs higher. The project has now collapsed, as have the shares of the football clubs. What was the project called? What was the project? So some of Europe's top football clubs decided to start a new project this week, which sent shares in the respective clubs higher. The project has now collapsed, as have the shares of those clubs. What was the project called?
Yes, John. Mate, you're going to have to adjudicate this.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Who do we have? Who were the two?
We had Gary and Swee.
It looks like Sweet to me.
Gary's given an incorrect answer.
Yeah.
Swee's an answer that's not 100% correct. I know she knew what she meant though.
Oh yeah, no, you're absolutely right. She has given an incorrect answer.
And John has given the
John, yeah. I like it.
And John Long has given the correct answer, which brings him up into a tie as well.
Okay.
Told you have to adjudicate this.
Yeah. Well, Swee has Swee has eventually got the right answer, and as you said, that we're allowed to take second answers. So Gary put the breakaway.
Yeah, there's going to be war here.
The European Soccer Leagues was Swee's first answer. Yeah, I mean, it's, we meant to take the first one, aren't we? European Sellout League is my favourite. Favourite answer by John Cook. European Super League by John Long. Yeah, Super League Hanan. Swee says Hanan is right. We might have to call it a draw, Jeff. We might have to call it a draw. I mean, we're allowed draws on this. I think
between three people. So what's 1/3 of nothing?
Well, who was our queen and king of the pops last time round?
Swee and John L.
Swee and John L. Okay, and who's the three-way out of?
Gary, Swee, and John L.
Okay, so in that case, then I would say that Swee and John keep their crown for this week as the incumbents, and Gary is still a contender.
Now, there's a challenge. There's a thought. Why don't the prize for this week should be that John and Swee ask the questions next Thursday?
Oh yeah, well, is that so they have to put together their own quiz?
They could do that if they wish.
Would you want to do that, guys? I'm not sure whether that's much of a prize. That sounds like a load of work to me.
Yeah, John's in.
John's up for it. All right, John. Yes, you've got to set the quiz. So next week, they are your questions. That's a fantastic idea.
5 each. John and Swee.
Swee's not keen. You're not keen, Swee, right? Okay. All right. In that case, John will do it. Swee's prize is that she can allocate John to do it. John's prize is that he's up for it and he'll do it. So next week, John, it's your quiz. 10 questions and you can come on. We'll get Angel to give you power so you can share your screen. If that's okay, mate. If you have any problems, then you can send me the questions. Yeah, you got that, have you? Okay, right, next week. You do the questions and Jeff and I will take part in it.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
All righty. Okay. You don't have to send
them to me, John.
Okay. Yeah, if you can send them through if you like. If you send them through, then I'll make the PowerPoint. If you can do the PowerPoint yourself and you want to run the whole quiz next week, you do it and Jeff and I'll take part. Either way's fine. Jeff and I will discuss about it. All right, well, that's going to wrap us up for the week anyway, mate. I think it's usually a good full stop. Have a great week to everybody. Thanks
Hang on.
so much.
We've got to set up the breakout trade.
Oh, you got to set up the breakout trade. All right, let's quickly do that, and then we will.
Won't take long.
We will wrap it up.
Okay, those of you who are interested, here's the thing. Euro US dollar, 4-hour charts and screen share. What we're looking for here is a breakout of the week. So the week, of course, is Monday, Tuesday, and today. Now we're well inside the range, and it often is the case that the daily pivot is exactly where we want to launch from. It's not quite there, but we're in the vicinity. So what we're trying to achieve here is a breakout of that level and a breakout of that level, which gives us today a risk of 62 pips. And what we do is we get 15 outside of the range. So we go 15 for the long and 15 for the short. So I'll give you those numbers. There is a couple of parameters around this that they don't turn off before I give them to you. So if 120.69 is the high of the range, 120.69, the entry for the long will be 1.2084. That will also be the stop for the short, right? The entry for the short will be at 1.2006. Sorry, minus 15. So 1.1991 will be the entry for the short, and it will also be the stop loss for the long. Now, if you got those numbers, should I put them on the board? You all good with those, the numbers? I'll give them to you again. The entry for the long is 1.2084. The entry for the short is 1.1991. And the respective stop losses are the reverse of those, obviously. Now, here's the thing. If price is within this range at the time of the announcement, about there. So if price is within that range, 120.50, say, to 120.21, or 120.20 to 120.50, then you can place that order. If price is outside of that range, don't place the order. And the order has to be placed just before the announcement. So just before, what is it, 12:30 and 1:15 as usual, or is it more than that? Ash, I can't remember. It's normally 12:30 and 1:15, isn't it?
Well, what's that? Sorry, well, for the breakout trade
for ECB.
ECB, yeah, it's the 1:30 the actual.
And the rate statement's at 12.
Yeah, the rate statement's a bit earlier than that, isn't it? The rate statement is at 12:45.
Right.
UK.
So you want to be placing this order at about 12:44, but make sure it's inside that range at that time. If it doesn't trigger, cancel the order and then place it again just before the press conference or statement, whatever it is, at 12:30 or 1:30, whatever it is. Is that all clear, guys? Don't place it now. You've got to wait until just before the announcement, because price could be here before the announcement, and that's not what you want, because you get whipsawed, bang, back out. This is the safer way to actually get into that. Righto, I'm done. Like a dog's dinner. I better have a look at the orders before I go anywhere. What are my orders? Can't remember. Aussie Yen, Aussie Swissy, Pound Swissy. Don't think I traded that. Yes, I did. Aussie Yen, no entry. Pound Swissy. Pound Swissy has entered. TP1 is at 127.08. So we're 23 pips away from TP1. Kiwi Swiss we didn't trade. Euro Kiwi we didn't trade. Aussie Swissy we traded, and that hasn't triggered either. Pound US dollar has got smashed out and going south in a hurry. So the breakout trade on the pound did not work today. I'm not sure why we got triggered. The spreads triggers it in. Shouldn't have got triggered there. But we did, and that's the way she blows. Right, mate, I'm done.
Fantastic. All right, thanks so much, guys. As always, been a good week. We will see how we get on with that Aussie Yen. see how we get on with that Aussie Yen and everything else. We'll be back next week for more shenanigans. I will be off on Monday. I've got an appointment in London for my daughter, so I won't be here Monday, but I'll be back with you Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Thanks for your company, as always, and thank you to you, Jeff, for your company. Thank you to Angel for doing another stellar job. Have a great weekend, everybody. Stay safe in the markets, and I'll see you on Tuesday. Thank you, buddy. Thanks, mate. Cheers, guys. Thank you for being our trading buddies for the week. Let's hope you can do it all again next week. In the meantime, have a great weekend. Bye-bye.